fine. Well, I don't know any of you guys out here have ever been divorced and told you're barren. It's not a bad thing. It's like it's a free ticket to paradise, you know? So I was like, let the games begin.
Get ready to have your mind blown. In this video, we're diving into the fascinating life of Tyrus, a wrestling superstar, and what you're about to learn about his wife will leave you speechless. From shocking secrets to surprising revelations, we're exploring it all. Stay tuned until the very end to find out what will leave you stunned. It hints that there's something shocking, something so wrong with the woman married to the 6'7" pro wrestler turned Fox News star, that you'd literally gag. People see that, and they get ready for a scandal. They expect to see something they can ridicule, something to gossip about, something that confirms all the ugly things they want to believe about people in the public eye. The internet can be a cruel place, where anonymous trolls hide behind their keyboards, ready to tear people down just for fun. So when a guy like Tyrus, who's no stranger to controversy himself, is seen with his wife, the keyboard warriors come out swinging. They see a picture, and they pounce. They judge her looks, her style, her very existence next to this mountain of a man. They whisper and they snark, and they build a whole story based on nothing but their own bitterness. That's where a headline like, "Try not to gag," comes from. It's born from shallowness, jealousy, and pure, unadulterated online hate. But what if I told you the real reason people should be gagging when they find out the truth about Tyrus's wife, Ingrid Rink, has nothing to do with any of that? The real story is one of unbelievable resilience that should be making headlines. It's not about what faceless trolls think, it's about a woman who was pushed to her absolute lowest point, a moment of crisis that would have shattered most people. Her journey starts at rock bottom, with a family health emergency, a failing marriage, and less than $100 to her name. But instead of breaking her, that crisis sparked an idea. An idea that a single mother, with no formal business training, would build into a multi-million-dollar empire, a company that would go on to employ hundreds of people. So, what's the real story that has people so shocked? What is the truth that makes the haters gag on their own words? Let's get into it. Before we get to Ingrid Rink's incredible story, you have to understand where all this ugliness comes from. Why would anyone attack a woman they've never even met? Well, it all comes down to celebrity, politics, and the court of public opinion. Tyrus, or George Murdoch, isn't exactly a quiet guy. He built his name in the loud, hypermasculine world of pro wrestling and then became a political commentator on one of the most polarizing news networks in America. He's big, he's loud, and he's unapologetically himself. That kind of personality gets you a loyal fan base, but it also gets you a whole legion of critics. For his fans, he's a straight shooter. For his critics, he's a mouthpiece for ideas they can't stand. This creates a battlefield, and today, that battlefield often drags in a public figure's family. The partners of controversial figures become collateral damage, soft targets for people who want to attack the celebrity but can't land a real punch. It's a sad, cheap tactic. Instead of actually debating Tyrus's opinions, it's just easier to pivot and mock his wife. They see a photo of Tyrus and Ingrid together, and instead of seeing a couple, they see an opening. They pick apart her appearance with a cruelty that only the anonymous feel brave enough to dish out. This gets even worse in our social media world. We're fed this idea of what a celebrity couple should look like: the Hollywood actor and the supermodel, two perfect people who fit a very narrow standard of beauty. When a couple doesn't fit that cookie-cutter mold, the nastiest parts of the internet feel entitled to comment. Tyrus is a giant of a man, and Ingrid is a real woman, not some photoshopped illusion. The simple difference in their physical presence is enough for shallow critics to sink their teeth into, and then, you have to factor in plain old jealousy. Female success can be a really bitter pill for some people to swallow. Because as you're about to find out, Ingrid Rink is not just Tyrus's wife. She is a self-made millionaire, an entrepreneur who built a powerhouse company from the ground up. For some people, a woman's success is threatening, especially when she's with an already powerful man. It's easier to try and tear her down, to reduce her to just the wife, than it is to acknowledge her incredible achievements. So that gag reaction? It isn't really about her. It's a reflection of the person making the comment. It's a gag of envy, of insecurity, of being unable to celebrate someone else's success. Tyrus himself recently addressed this, posting an apology to his wife for his own past behavior, and when people reacted negatively, he told them to grow the F***K up or mind your business. He sees the poison they face, and he's not afraid to call it out. But honestly, Ingrid Rink's story is the only comeback that matters. To really get the scale of Ingrid Rink's success, you have to know where she came from. Not just her hometown, but the state of mind she was in when it all started. Long before she was a CEO, long before her name was tied to Tyrus, she was a woman on the edge. Born on April 24, 1981, Ingrid was drawn to fitness from a young age. She wasn't just someone who liked to work out, she had a gift for it. In fact, she taught her first fitness class when she was just 15 years old. Over the years, she built a career as a personal trainer, earning numerous certifications in fitness and nutrition. She was respected, she was an expert, but nothing could have prepared her for the storm that was coming. The year 2014 was when her life completely fell apart. Just imagine this: you're a mother, and you're already struggling. Your marriage is failing, a slow, painful collapse that's left you emotionally exhausted. You're in the middle of a nasty custody battle for your kids. On top of that, you're pregnant with your third child, and the stress has taken a toll on your own body. You've gained over 100 pounds, and you feel like a stranger in your own skin. You, the fitness expert, are now the one who feels lost. And just when you think things can't possibly get any worse, life hits you with the one thing every parent fears most: her son, Rock, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. That's a diagnosis that just stops a parent's world cold. Suddenly, your child's life is all about blood sugar levels, insulin shots, and counting carbs. For Ingrid, this wasn't just a diagnosis, it was the final blow. Here she was, a woman whose life was already in pieces. A failing marriage, a custody fight, her own health spiraling, and now, her son's life was on the line. The financial strain was crushing. At her lowest point, she has said she had just $50 to her name. $50. That was it. This is the definition of rock bottom. It's a place of suffocating darkness where it feels like there's no way out. This is the woman the trolls so easily mock. A woman facing a crisis that would bring almost anyone to their knees. But for Ingrid Rink, this was not the end. It was the pressure that would create a diamond. When you're hit with that much adversity, you have two choices: you can let it crush you, or you can fight back. Ingrid Rink, armed with nothing but a mother's love and $50, chose to fight. Her son's diagnosis became her only mission. The doctors gave her the clinical breakdown, the pamphlets, the insulin instructions. But for Ingrid, a lifetime expert in wellness, that wasn't enough. She knew, deep down, that the answer had to be in nutrition. This kicked off a period of obsessive research. Ingrid, the personal trainer, became a self-taught nutritional scientist. She spent countless hours in libraries and online, digging through medical journals and nutritional studies. Her kitchen turned into a lab. She started weighing food, meticulously calculating nutritional content, and preparing every single meal for her son. The goal was simple: make food that would help manage his diabetes, but that a little kid would actually want to eat. This was the birth of what would become Sensible Meals, even if she didn't know it yet. It wasn't a business plan, it was a survival plan. And as she worked to heal her son with food, something amazing happened. His health stabilized. The wild swings in his blood sugar leveled out. In the process of healing him, she started to heal herself. She began eating the same portion-controlled, balanced meals she was making for her son. The weight, which had felt like a physical sign of her despair, started to come off. Pound by pound, she began to reclaim her body and her health, eventually losing over 100 pounds. A physical transformation that mirrored the internal one she was going through. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was taking control. Word started to get around. Friends, family, old clients from her gym, they all saw the incredible change in her and her son. They all started asking, "What are you doing? Can you help me?" So, she started prepping meals for a few of them out of her home kitchen. It was a tiny, word-of-mouth operation. She was still a single mom, now juggling a newborn, her 2 sons, and this little side project. The spark of an idea, born from the ashes of her lowest point, was now a small but growing flame. That small flame, ignited in a home kitchen, was about to become a bonfire. The demand for Ingrid's meals exploded. What started with a few clients quickly became hundreds. Her concept was simple but brilliant: moderation, not deprivation. She wasn't selling extreme diets or bland health food. She was making real, delicious food, like pastas and gumbos, but in carefully controlled, nutritionally balanced portions. It was a healthy way of eating that people could actually stick with. The growth was insane. The business quickly outgrew her home. She expanded, then expanded again. From a one-woman operation, Sensible Meals grew into a massive company, an 8-figure business with multiple kitchens and a huge packaging facility, shipping tens of thousands of meals a week all across the country. This wasn't just a successful business, it was an empire, but the most incredible part of this story isn't the money, it's the mission. As her company grew, Ingrid never forgot where she came from. She remembered what it felt like to be a struggling single mother. So, she made a choice. She would build her company to be a place that empowered other women. She started hiring, specifically looking for women who, like her, were facing their own challenges. At its peak, her company employed hundreds of people, the vast majority of them women, many of them single mothers. Think about that. A woman who was once fighting for her own survival created a lifeline and a stable career for hundreds of women walking the same path she once had. She didn't just write a check to charity, she built an entire ecosystem of empowerment, and while her business was changing lives, she was also changing the life of the man who would become her husband. When she and Tyrus got together, he was struggling with his own weight, tipping the scales at nearly 500 pounds. Using the exact same principles she used for herself and her thousands of clients, she helped him. Tyrus embarked on his own transformation, and with Ingrid's guidance, he lost over 100 pounds, a life-saving change he credits entirely to her. So when people ask, who is Tyrus's wife, this is the answer. She is a CEO. She is an innovator who built one of America's largest meal prep companies from nothing. She is a job creator and a philanthropist. She is a health expert who not only transformed her own life but helped save her husband's. She is a self-made titan. That is the truth. And that reality should make people gag, with pure awe. For many years, despite Ingrid's incredible success and Tyrus's public profile, the two kept their life remarkably private. They were together for over a decade, building a blended family away from the spotlight. They welcomed their daughter, Georgie, in 2014, adding to Ingrid's 2 sons and Tyrus's kids from a previous relationship. They were a family, navigating life just like anyone else, just on a much bigger scale. He often called her his wife long before it was official, which shows you how deep their commitment really was. They finally, officially tied the knot in January 2024, making a rock-solid partnership official. What makes them so interesting is the contrast. Tyrus is the gruff, outspoken giant. Ingrid is the poised, articulate, and fiercely smart entrepreneur. On the surface, they might seem like an odd pair, but it's clear they have a deep mutual respect. He isn't threatened by her success. He's her biggest fan. He praises her constantly, admitting she's the architect of their family and the one behind his own health transformation. In a recent, raw open letter on social media, he publicly apologized for putting her through hard times, praising her for being the one who did everything she could to keep me breathing. It was a powerful tribute to her strength, that strength is their foundation. They aren't a couple where one person stands in the other's shadow, they're two powerhouses who joined forces. They've navigated huge challenges together, from the pressures of public life to Tyrus's own personal battles. Recently, the family made a big move, relocating from Louisiana to a farm in northern New Jersey in the spring of 2024. This move feels like a new chapter, a desire for a quieter, more grounded life. On the farm, they're not just celebrities, they're parents raising their kids, surrounded by nature. It's a life that puts family and well-being first, the very principles Ingrid built her empire on. Together, they're a testament to what a true partnership looks like. Two strong, successful people choosing to build an even more powerful life together. If Ingrid Rink's story of resilience inspired you, do us a favor and hit that like button. Let us know in the comments what you think is the most shocking part of her incredible journey. Was it building an empire from $50, creating hundreds of jobs for women, or her own stunning transformation? And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into the real stories behind the headlines. So let's go back one last time to that ugly, clickbait phrase, meet the wife of Tyrus, try not to gag. We've peeled back the layers of online hate to find the truth. And the truth is, you should gag at the sheer nerve of a woman who, at her absolute lowest point, facing a failing marriage, a custody battle, a health crisis, and with only $50 to her name, absolutely refused to break. You should gag at the stunning success of a business that started in a home kitchen and grew into a national, multi-million-dollar company. You should gag at the impact of a leader who chose to lift other women up as she climbed, creating hundreds of jobs for single mothers in need. And you should absolutely gag at the resilience of a woman who not only transformed her own life, losing over 100 pounds, but also guided her husband through his own life-saving weight loss. The only thing that's truly gag-worthy is the idea that this woman should be judged by anything other than her own massive achievements. Ingrid Rink is not defined by her famous husband. She is a self-made entrepreneur, a philanthropist, a mother, and an absolute powerhouse of inspiration. Her story isn't a scandal, it's a blueprint for turning crisis into creation. The next time you see her name, the only right reaction is one of pure, unadulterated respect.